Hello, can you listen to me? Please write in the chat box if you are able to listen to me. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, my microphone was off. So now I think you all are able to listen to me, right? Okay, good. Very good. Yes, yes. Thank you, Dr. Purnima. Thank you very much. Yes, I can see you. So, mm, thank you. So, students, a very good morning to all of you. Here, morning is so pleasant in Bhutan that you can see that pleasantness in my voice. I don't know about Banaras, but it must be pretty hot there. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Okay, good, good. So I am not that privileged. I was thinking as if I am the only privileged here. Okay. So, so yes, in the last lecture, I tried to discuss Shakespeare in general by taking Hamlet into reference, that how Shakespeare has brought some of the themes and some of the issues related to human life uh, uh, through his text, and he has brought these issues from a perspective uh, that these perspectives have not lost their meanings even in today's world, in 21st century also. And that's why his texts are his works are still valid, very valid. And uh, not all can enjoy philosophy. So those who don't enjoy philosophy, they, if they enjoy literature, they can get the greatest of the philosophies of human life in Shakespeare's works. So Shakespeare has never compromised with uh, philosophy of life as well as aesthetics, and that's why Shakespeare is called genius. But friends, uh, before calling him genius or extraordinary, because such words are, I mean, uh, uh, like easy phrases to describe someone if you have not much idea about somebody. And that's why as students we should avoid the words like genius, best, or greatest. So let us just delve into the subject matter in a more detailed manner, and try to see why Hamlet is so uh, such a complex play to understand, and such a relevant play for us even today. So before we go to Hamlet, uh, I promised you that I will begin with the story of Oedipus complex. Sorry, again, it is Oedipus Rex. Actually, Oedipus complex is a Freudian terminology. Oedipus Rex is a play by Sophocles, and it is very important for us to contextualize Hamlet. And in order to contextualize Hamlet, we must know the context in which it was written. So, as you all know, that in Greek mythology, in Greek culture, in Greek literature, the plots of the tragedies were never new or never invented. In fact, they were the stories which were very popular, and many of the stories in Greek tragedies have been taken from Homer's Iliad or Odysseus. And Homer's Iliads and Odysseus were written, way back, like in 1000 BC, We are not sure about the date of Homer's Iliad and Odysseus, but we know that when in 5th century uh, Greek drama started, the Greek drama which came in the 3rd century BC in its most perfect form in the hands of Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides. Uh, its seeds were sown in 5th century BC. So even in 5th century BC, the plots of the tragedies were taken from the stories that were popular in the Greek common lives. So whenever the audience went to watch any play, they were aware of the stories, but what they went to watch was that how those stories were treated by a particular dramatist. And that's what the difference between story and plot is. A story is a common folk tale or common tales which is transmitted from generation to generation with their respective changes. So a story will definitely change if it is an oral story from generation to generation. In the same way, if you see Hamlet, then you find that not only Hamlet, but in fact Shakespeare's any play, if you see, then the stories were very popular stories. You must be knowing that Hamlet's story, which is about the revenge, a young man's revenge, is not new. Thomas Kit's The Spanish Tragedy is also based on the same theme, and Shakespeare's has multiple sources for his tragedies and comedies. For example, for his history plays, he has taken the stories from Holinshed's Chronicles. In the same manner, he has taken many of the stories from like Mirrors of the Magistrates and other sources. So when you are looking at any tragedy, you must keep in mind not only tragedy but also comedy, that the stories were very common, very popular, and when they came to the tragedians or the comedians, then the way they treated, that was new. So it was the treatment which was new, not the story itself. So when I am saying that let's contextualize Hamlet, so what I mean to say that to understand the text of Hamlet, you must know the tradition. You must know in what context the story of Hamlet is moving ahead. And that's why I went to Greek era. Without understanding Greek tragedies or Greek comedies, it is very difficult to understand the Renaissance tragedies or comedies, because Greek tragedies were the models for the Renaissance tragedies. Greek dramas were the role models for uh, the Renaissance dramatist. You see that Ben Jonson, whom you must have read in your first semester, his The Alchemist was based on classical comedy, where he is following the three unities. Even Shakespeare, the greatest playwright in Elizabethan period, and not only in Elizabethan period, but also in the whole English period, is such a dramatist who is known because he has violated the classical rules. So even if Shakespeare becomes an English playwright, it is because that he violates the rules. So even the violation of the rule is being done in the context of certain rules, and that's why Shakespeare's plays are always known as Shakespearean tragedies or Shakespearean comedies, because somehow he has refused to follow the antiquarian rules, the antiquity. He is trying to be contemporary, contemporary of the needs of the British. So now let's go back uh, to our uh, play Oedipus Rex. First, we will know its story and how the story is made converted into a plot, and then it will give us a hint about our present play, which is under discussion, Hamlet. You know, Oedipus Rex is a play by Sophocles. Actually, it is a trilogy. A trilogy is a compendium of three plays. So the other two plays were Antigone and Oedipus at Colonus. So you see, and Sophocles was given the first prize for this trilogy when it was performed in the Greek Dionysian festivals. Now, uh, Oedipus, Antigone, and Oedipus at Colonus. These three plays, you will you will find that it's a kind of family tree which is moving in the three tragedies. So let's not delay and come to our play Oedipus Rex. Oedipus Rex is a tragedy, and it is about a king uh, who is a well wisher of his state. So first, let me tell you the story. Oedipus' father Laius has been cursed that he will be killed by his son. So, and not only this, that his son will kill him, and the same son will marry his mother, that is Laius' wife, Jocasta. When Laius comes to know about this curse, he is frightened. So, what he does when Oedipus is born out of the womb of Jocasta, Laius orders for his killing. But Jocasta, being a mother, feels pity for the child. So she instructs the guards that they should take the child, the small baby, to a sea. And if they want to kill, they can kill there, or if they want to leave, they can leave it there. Now, the minister who was to carry out this order, when he took the baby in the arms, he felt pity for the baby. So instead of killing the baby, what he did, he floated the baby into the river. And what happened that after a day or 2 days of swimming, that baby reached to a shore where it was picked up by an ordinary farmer. And this ordinary farmer, when he saw the baby, he since he was childless, so he took the baby with himself. But later on, he found that he is not able to take care of this child, so he gave it to his own king, and that is another state. It is not in the state of Thebes. The three plays Oedipus Rex, Oedipus at Colonus, and Antigone are also known as Theban plays. So now that ordinary farmer gives the baby to the childless king and queen, and where the child is brought up as if it was their own son. Now, what happens that uh, this baby, when a foreteller comes and looks at the baby, the foreteller tells that this baby will kill his own father and marry his own mother. Now, what happens that when the baby, who is now grown up, almost a warrior in his young age, like 18 or 19, when he comes to know about this horrific news, he decides to leave that place and go back to the neighboring city state, and that is Thebes. And you see the irony of human fate here. Now, now you see. Oedipus starts his journey, and when he starts his journey, he's very angry with himself. He's questioning himself whether he is born, and he decides to do away with his fate. He wants to change his fate. For that purpose, he's traveling and traveling. Now, what happens that while he's crossing, he finds that there is a bridge, and he's crossing from the one side of the bridge. From the other side, an old man with his bodyguard is also crossing the bridge. Now what happens that they have reached halfway in the bridge, when both are saying to the other that you leave the bridge and I will cross it first, because it was very narrow bridge, so only one person could cross at one time. Now Oedipus, being young and haughty and very rigid mind, You see, one of the characteristic trait of Oedipus is that he's a man of pride and he's very haughty, very rigid, very strong in his will. So Oedipus says that he will not go away from the bridge, and it is the old man who should go away because it was the Oedipus who came first, so he will cross the bridge first. Now the old man is saying, and since old man has manpower, so his men are saying we will not go back. And here what happens that both have clashes, and in this clash Oedipus kills not only the old man but all the bodyguards except one who escapes from there. And you can see that this is the first incident of road race. Who will cross the road? Why didn't you give me pass? You must be hearing a lot of such news in India. And at the same time, I must remind here the story of Karna also. How Karna was also dejected by his own mother, and how Oedipus has been dejected here by his own family. By the way, all the mythologies and stories are somehow connected. So now you see, and then Oedipus, when he enters Thebes, he finds that Thebes is in a state of utter chaos, and it is kind of that people are suffering. So what has happened? Actually, there is a monster Sphinx, and this Sphinx has one habit. He asks riddles, he asks questions from the people, and when the people are not able to answer, he kills them and chews them. So when Oedipus enters, he is also challenged by the Sphinx that before answering he cannot enter the kingdom. So you see one admirable quality of Oedipus here. He accepts the challenge, and not only he accepts the challenge, but he also answers the riddles. So what you come to know here is that Oedipus is a great solver of the riddles, great solver of the puzzles. And once he answers the riddles, he has been able to tame the Sphinx. When people come to know that Sphinx has been tamed, they welcome him as hero. And once they welcome him as the hero, and since the state is without a king because king has disappeared somewhere, and the queen is left alone, so the state of Thebes needed someone to protect the people and to run smoothly the administrative function of the state. So they invite and appoint him as the king. And you can see the example of democracy here, the king being appointed by the people, as it happens in modern day democracy. My dear students, I must tell you here that tragedies are Greek tragedies are also critique of excessive dictatorship, excessive monopolization of power. As in this play you will see that when Oedipus becomes the king, he has also monopolized the power. So in 3rd century BC, Greek was a democracy, and that democracy was in a state of serious challenges and crisis. So the tragedians have addressed even these issues. So even politics is involved here. So don't read these plays only as if some stories are there. These stories also inform us about the contemporary sociology, philosophy, and politics of the states. So once is appointed as the king, he marries his own. Uh, he marries the queen. The thing is that whatever Oedipus is doing here, he is still ignorant. He does not know what he has done in actuality, and that is the contrast. Oedipus, whatever Oedipus is doing, he feels that he knows everything, but the irony is that he is not knowing anything, and that is the irony. That's the contrast. That's the destiny. Once he is appointed as the king and marries the queen, the state is being run smoothly and people are happy. But after some time, there is a chaos and there is a I can a plague in the state. And once the plague is there, just like corona of today's, so people are losing, their kith and kins, their relatives, their sons and daughters, young people are losing their lives. And that is what has been defined as calamity. A calamity is when those people are losing their lives who have not completed their stages of life, like children, young people. If an old man is dying, then it's not a calamity, that is nature. But if a young person is dying, so if corona is taking away the life of, let's say 70 years old people or 80 years old people, you cannot say that it is a tragedy. That is unfortunate. But if young people are dying, elderly children are dying, then it is disaster. And that is what has happened. So when a disaster happens, the people of those era, when these disasters are happening, they define those events from the knowledges that are available to them. For example, today we are blaming Wuhan or virus for this calamity. Had we been living in 5th century BC, we would have declared it as wrath of God, anger of God, that we have done something wrong, and that wrong must be corrected. Until and unless it is corrected, the calamity will continue, that disaster will continue. So when Oedipus comes to know that there is a crisis and there is plague, he invites the people of his state and asks them to inform him about the state of affairs. And then uh, Tiresias is invited there, and Tiresias informs. When Tiresias can see, actually he cannot see literally Oedipus, because Tiresias is blind, but he can sense. So Tiresias wants Oedipus not to know the real cause of the plague. But when Oedipus insists, and it is his character. In Greek tragedies, when Aristotle has said that plot is the soul of tragedy, and then he furthers it by saying that a tragedy is possible without character but not without plot. What he means to say here is that character not as individual but character as characteristic trait. So if you see that individual actor is important, then it is not that important. It is the trait that dominates the character, that personality of Oedipus. So what is his personality? He has a strong self-will, he is rigid, he does not listen to anybody, and he has a pride. So when Tiresias wants him not to proceed, he will proceed more, because he is a man of pride and he cannot be instructed by someone else. And that is what his hamartia is. Now when he tries to know further into it, he sends his brother-in-law, that is Creon. Then Creon comes and tells him that it was because of Oedipus that there is a chaos in the state. So Oedipus blames Creon, that Creon is plotting against him, and he just you know declares that he must go out of his sight. And then again, but so Oedipus is trying to know more into and more into detail, and then the person who carried him from the palace to the seaside for killing, and then another person who, like that soldier who escaped while the old man who was the king was killed, they all appear before Oedipus. They keep trembling, and that is where, but what happens in the meantime, that there is a news coming that his parents have died, and these are the parents who had adopted Oedipus. So Oedipus feels pretty relieved. And you see, that is the irony. When he's feeling pretty relieved, at the same time, this another man is entering, who carried him from the palace to the sea, and he immediately could recognize that it was the child Oedipus whom he carried and now who has grown up. And then when he saw the sight of Queen Jocasta, he's trembling. So when Oedipus forces him to tell at the cost of his life, he informs him that yes, he is the son of Jocasta and that late king. And this is where you can see that a good news which has come to him just now is being converted into a tragic news, and that is that he has married his own mother. So what happens that he is just thinking. In the meantime, Queen Jocasta went inside the palace and committed suicide by hanging herself. And you must know that when she hanged herself, her upper dress was open, her breasts were open, and these breasts were the symbols of not only a mother but also as a wife. So and then when Jocas has committed suicide, Oedipus comes to know, and then Oedipus decides that he must punish himself so that state of Thebes, whatever wrong has been done in the state of Thebes, can be corrected. And for that purpose, he blinded himself and he leaves the state of Thebes. And you see here, when Oedipus was not blind, when he could see visibly, externally, he was ignorant. And when he has full knowledge of himself, he is blind. So that's the irony. Not only Tiresias is blind in this play, even Oedipus becomes blind. So that is what is this story is about. But when Sophocles take this play into his hand, I mean this story, how he transforms it into a plot. He transforms it into a plot by the way when the play opens, he is not starting from from this point that Oedipus is born. Instead, the play begins that Oedipus is a king and he is approached by his subject, by his people who are suffering and who wants that Oedipus must take an action. So you see that the play is proceeding further as far as action is concerned, but as far as knowledge is concerned, it is going back. So you will see that many of the actions which are taking off stage place, that is not on the stage but off the stage. So you will see that not only the story is moving ahead but at the same time going back also in the kind of pyramid structure. So you see Oedipus, the plot is like Oedipus, the play begins with Oedipus when the people approach him, and then Oedipus invites first his brother-in-law that he should go and try to know the cause. And when brother-in-law comes to know that something wrong has been done in the state of Thebes, then he again sends him that he should go and invite Tiresias, because Tiresias will tell him. And now Tiresias is telling him not to go into the further detail. So, so what happens here is that when he's, trying to know about his past, then the story is going into the past. So action wise plot is moving ahead, and knowledge wise plot is moving into the past. So that is how you can see the Greek tragedies were structured. Now you see, so here what you find in this play, you find that father is killed, you find that son marries the mother, you find that there is a corruption in the state play. Corruption, don't think the corruption means only bribery. Corruption, any sort of disorderliness is a corruption. Even there is a corruption in the body if the body is not properly harmonized, and that's why we have the concept of beauty. So then whatever the main protagonist, that is Oedipus, does, he does it purely in ignorance. Then you see what is his characteristic trait. He's a great riddle solver, and you see action proceeding ahead as well as in the past. You find one supernatural element, that is Sphinx. Then you find there is a mother figure, and that mother figure, Jocasta, is not only mother figure but as wife also. And then there is, you see, self discovery. Self discovery takes place when Oedipus comes to know that what he has done in his life, in this knowledge, under this impression that whatever he is doing, he is completely aware of him, of itself, he comes to know that actually he was not aware of itself. And this is the self discovery. He comes to know his limitations. He comes to know the limitations of being a human. So self discovery does not mean that he has become a perfect man. Self discovery is that he has come to know his limitations. So you find incest here. uh, I will compare these points to Hamlet now, but before I am moving to Hamlet, I will show you one thing here, that incest, why incest is a theme here. One of the things why Sophocles had shown that the son marrying mother and killing the father. You see, you know, incest has nothing to do with spirituality. Don't think that the relationship between brother and sister or mother and son from a Christian perspective or a Hindu perspective or Islamic perspective or you see any perspective, incest across the culture and across the religion has been prohibited. But you imagine that Oedipus is not written in a Christian period. You can note down that it was written in 3rd century BC, around let's say 349, 47. You can see the dates in the Google. Now, and Jesus Christ will come only after 300 years. Ah, it's not, incest is not about any spirituality or any religious crisis. It is about confusion. You be please very sure about it, that incest has nothing to do with sin. It is always about confused relationship. If you look at the incest, you will find that I will tell you from this play itself, like how will you look at the relationship between Oedipus and Jocasta. At here at least there is some clarity. That clarity is like Oedipus is both son and husband as well. But if you see Oedipus's daughter Antigone, Antigone is the daughter of Oedipus. What is the relationship between Antigone and Jocasta? You can draw a map there. If you have a pen and pencil, you just make it like this, that you have Jocasta marrying Oedipus, producing a daughter, uh, Antigone. Actually, they have two sons and two daughters. So I am taking only Antigone. Now, Antigone is the daughter of Jocasta and Oedipus. So Oedipus is Antigone's father and at the same time brother also. How? Because Antigone is the daughter of Jocasta and Jocasta is the mother of Oedipus. So Jocasta is the mother of Antigone and Jocasta is the mother of Oedipus. It means Antigone is the brother of Oedipus. And at the same time, Antigone is the daughter of Oedipus. And another way, Antigone Jocasta relationship is not only the mother daughter relationship. In fact, Jocasta can be the grandmother of Antigone also, because Jocasta's son is Oedipus and Oedipus's daughter Antigone. So if you see today's like familial relationships, so my grandfather's son is my father and his son is myself. So my grandfather is my grandfather. So you see the confused relationship. So it is also that incest brings confusion to the order. And that's why the tragedians or the dramatists, and not only dramatists, but across all cultures, incest has been declared as a taboo. It is a prohibition. Friends, students, I will take 2 minutes of break here and I'm coming back. So yes, so I'm back. Okay, can you all hear? If you are able to hear, please just write in the chat box. Okay, good, good, good. Hmm. So yes, so for that purpose, incest has been prohibited. But now let's come to our play Hamlet, and we will see how Hamlet has lot of similarities with Oedipus, with certain shifts in not only in the character but also in the plot. You see, in Oedipus Rex, there is a father is killed, and that father is king. So a king has been killed. That king is father, father is king. It is known as regicide, if I am not wrong, killing of a king. So, and what do you find in Hamlet? In Hamlet also there has been a regicide. A father has been killed. And you know the difference? In Oedipus, the son has killed. In Hamlet, it has been killed by the brother. By the way, so father is killed in both places. Then in Oedipus, son marries mother. In Hamlet, son does not marry mother, though Freudian analysis and then Ernest Jones, these two we will see. Uh, uh, so here you see that the son hates his mother. He loathes his mother. So mother and son relationship is a very strong here, and strong means not affection wise but loathe. Son loathes his mother. Then you see corruption. If there is a plague in Thebes, then in Denmark, again there is a corruption, and that's what you can see through the speeches of Hamlet, that something is rotten in the state of Denmark. So, and this is a phrase which is being used even today to refer to the prevailing corruptions in the societies. I still remember Markandeya Katju, one of the justices in Supreme Court. He once used this phrase to show that in what state India was at that time, a corrupt state. चैट बॉक्स में नैटन पोयम सुनाना चाहिए चैट बॉक्स में So, hmm, so, so corruption. Now, ignorance. Whatever Oedipus does, he does it pure out of ignorance. While whatever Hamlet does, it looks as if he knows. But a greater analysis, a deeper analysis will bring something else. But action wise, whatever Hamlet is doing, he is well aware. He is in full knowledge. But Oedipus, if he married the king, he was not knowing that it was his mother. If he killed the king, he did not know. But here Hamlet is knowing. So you can see that it may be one of the reasons why he is not ready to kill uh, Claudius or even mother or anyone, because he knows. But when he is unaware, like when he kills Polonius, at that time he was ignorant. Even suicide of Ophelia is caused by Hamlet's action, but Hamlet is ignorant about it. So you can see, and you have to make a comparison here. Then you find that there is an admirable quality in Oedipus, and that is that he's a great uh, solver of riddles. And he took the challenge, he accepted the challenge of the Sphinx, and he not only solved the riddles, he tamed the Sphinx. Here you see Hamlet. He's a great scholar. He's a great philosopher. He has attended the very most one of the most famous universities, that is Wittenberg University. So if Oedipus is a great solver of riddles, Hamlet is a great scholar. About the action, you see, even in Oedipus Rex by Sophocles, most of the actions have taken place off stage and in the past, like killing of the actions, solving the riddles. Here in this play, When it opens, we already come to know that the king has been killed. But you can see, as in Oedipus, Oedipus must know what has happened to him. Hamlet also wanted to know what has happened to the king. So, for that purpose, there is a play within play. Then, supernatural elements. One of the influences on Renaissance drama, especially in the university bits, was in the tragedies that they were writing revenge tragedies. And in the revenge tragedies, it was said that it was Seneca's influence. In the last lecture, I told you that I would be discussing something on Seneca. So now is the time to discuss about Seneca's influence. Now, Seneca was a Roman dramatist, and Seneca has revived and rephrased many of the Greek tragedies. Like he has also written Oedipus, but in his Oedipus and in Sophocles' Oedipus, there is a difference. In Seneca, in Seneca's treatment, Seneca uses lot of supernatural elements. He uses like ghost, he uses like witches, which you will not find in Sophocles. So the reason was that it was a time of Christian era. Christianity has started developing and influencing the imagination of the people. And one of the ways of approaching Christianity, or Christianity approached the human life, was that when Jesus Christ came, and with that concept, they started talking about the notion of heaven and hell. And this heaven and hell is the concept of Christian civilization. It is not a pre Christian concept. So if you do something good, you will go to heaven. If you do something bad, you will go to hell. You will not find this concept in Homer, for example. In Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, their heroes are barbarics. They are uncivilized. Uh, like the Achilles. Achilles mutilates the body of Paris. And Achilles is a hero. So the Greeks celebrated barbarian heroes. But when Jesus Christ came, and with him this morality, the notion of morality developed, which Nietzsche has discussed as weak morality. He said that it was because of Jesus Christ that weak morality has come to us. And weak morality is that if you help the poor, if you help the needy, you will be rewarded. So Nietzsche does not like it, and that's why he does not like the modern drama also. Nietzsche is a great admirer of Greek tragedies, where you can see that their heroes are, even Oedipus, except that he's a great solver of riddles. He celebrates killing, he celebrates, and masculinity. Their heroes are masculine and barbaric. But Roman and Renaissance, in Renaissance especially, you will find that there is a balancing between Greek concept of heroism and Christian concept of heroism. A Christian hero is a hero who has all these seven virtues. For the seven virtues and seven vices, you should refer to M.H. Abrams. What are those virtues and vices which make them hero? So we have the concept of morality play. So when Seneca was writing his tragedies, he was highly influenced from Christian morality. So for that purpose, he is developing that if a person is killed unrighteously, then he will become a ghost, and he will become a ghost. So if a ghost is visible in a play, it means that there is an unnatural deed, and that unnatural deed must be corrected. Come to Shakespeare, you see the same thing there. You find that in Shakespeare there is a ghost, and that ghost is visible to Hamlet, Horatio, and one or two of the sentinels. So you cannot simply reject that ghost by saying that it was Hamlet's own uh, thinking or own externalization of the mind, because it is visible even to Horatio and to the other sentinels. So Shakespeare is using the ghost as a device to show, in fact, it is a device to show that something has happened in the past. And that is where there is some weakness in the structure of the plot if you compare it to Oedipus. In Oedipus, such devices are not used. It is up to the dramatist and his strategy where he is using, like where he has got the mastery, that he is taking the action, in a parallel manner, present as well as past. For Shakespeare, he is using the ghost. So when the ghost comes, it is the ghost which informs that something has been done to him which was not right. He has been killed in a vicious manner, in a conspiracy. So this is the influence of Seneca, a visible influence that Seneca brought Christian moral tradition, and that is heaven and hell. So a ghost is a symbol of the notion of heaven and hell. This notion of heaven and hell you will never find in any Greek tragedy, because they belong to the pre-Christian civilization. So if you are able to understand me, you can simply write in your chat box that yes. Otherwise, if you have any doubt, I will pause here and I can reinterpret that. Should I reinterpret? Should I or no? Should I move ahead? Okay, good, Sakshi. Good, Bhavna. Yes, yes, Mahima and all. Thank you, thank you. So yes, see, so you see Seneca's influences of, the notion of heaven and hell, and that's why you can see that when Hamlet is not ready to kill King Claudius when he's praying, it is also because Hamlet believes in the Christian moral tradition. If this play is being written in Greek period, and if the hero could see the, arch enemy in that manner, he would not have hesitated in killing him. So that is one of the. So when you say Seneca's influence, not Seneca is not only for supernatural elements. You should go into more detail that these supernatural elements reflected to a different cosmic philosophy which belong to the, post-Christian period. Then you see, we have a mother figure here. In Oedipus, it is Mother Jocasta marrying Oedipus. In Hamlet, it is uh, Queen Gertrude, and Hamlet loathes her, and both plays are about self-discovery. In Oedipus comes to know only when he is completely ignorant, does everything, and he feels that he has understood everything, and then whatever happens to him, it is beyond his control, and then he realizes that everything what he did was done in ignorance. In Hamlet also this is done, but there is one difference here. In Oedipus, everything is done in ignorance. Whatever the character does, he is ignorant. And that is what is hamartia. In Hamlet, whatever he is doing, he is knowing it. At least factually, event wise, he knows it. So in Hamlet, it is tragic error. It is tragic flaw. Please don't be confused that hamartia is the tragic flaw. Hamartia is a Greek term where it means that the characters are unaware, they are ignorant. But in Renaissance, especially in Shakespeare, the characters are well aware of. Like you must have read Macbeth. So Macbeth knew that he was ambitious and he was killing the king, which was wrong. So you cannot say that when he was doing that crime, he was ignorant. So that is tragic flaw, weakness. That is the weakness of this character. But in Oedipus, whatever he is doing in ignorance. So it is hamartia in Greek tragedies and tragic flaws in Renaissance, especially in Shakespeare. So you must have seen the comparison between the two tragedies, how Oedipus gives a basis to Hamlet. So, in order to fully understand this play, apart from textual reading, now you all should start your textual reading of this play, because it won't be possible for me to go into the detailed textual analysis. So, what I will do is that I will discuss act wise, scene wise. You all should read your text, and not only reading the text, but also try to see some of the philosophies of Renaissance period, especially the great chain of being, then humanism, Renaissance humanism. And once you are able to know them, you will be able to understand this play into a more detailed manner. So I think I have spoken today about